The Las Vegas Raiders received some tough news today. Linebacker Christian Ellis, who seemed poised to join the team, will not be wearing the silver and black after all. Instead, the New England Patriots decided to match the Raiders' offer and secure Ellis on a 2-year deal, keeping him in New England through the 2026 season. This move came as a surprise to many, especially considering that most reports coming out of New England did not anticipate the Patriots making this decision. Now the big question is, what's next for the Raiders? Could they still try to trade for Ellis? Are there viable options in free agency? And if neither of those happens, which players already on the roster will need to step up in his absence? The Raiders had a clear plan for Ellis. The expectation was that he would be a key addition to their linebacker unit, forming a strong duo alongside Landon Roberts. The front office viewed him as a player who could make an immediate impact, filling a crucial role in the defense. The fact that the team was willing to offer Ellis a 1-year $4, $8 million deal shows just how much they valued his potential. In contrast, the Patriots initially placed a lower tender on him, which suggested that they weren't as eager to retain him. However, once the Raiders made their move, New England quickly responded, recognizing his worth and locking him down with a multi-year contract. That shift speaks volumes about how both organizations viewed his future. With Ellis no longer an option, the Raiders now face a decision. Do they let this go and move forward with their current linebacker group, or do they explore other ways? To strengthen the position, one possibility is that the team could still attempt to trade for Ellis. While it's rare for a player who just had his offer matched to be moved in a trade, there is some precedent for it. A similar situation occurred when the San Francisco 49ers placed a second-round tender on running back Jordan Mason, only for the Minnesota Vikings to step in and negotiate a trade shortly after. If the Raiders truly believe Ellis is the right fit for their defense, they could reach out to the Patriots and see if there's a deal to be made. It wouldn't be the easiest path, but it's not entirely off the table. If a trade isn't in the cards, the Raiders will need to turn their attention to free agency. The problem, however, is that the linebacker market is getting thinner by the day. Most of the top available players have already been signed, making it more difficult to find a high-quality replacement. That being said, there are still a few names worth considering. One of the top remaining options is E.J. Speed, a physical and aggressive linebacker who could fit well in the Raiders' defensive system. He has experience, solid tackling ability, and enough versatility to be a difference maker. Another name to watch is Kaiser White, who had an impressive season with the Arizona Cardinals last year, racking up 137 tackles. White is known for his ability to move sideline to sideline and would provide the Raiders with much-needed coverage skills. Beyond those two, the options become less appealing. Chaz Surratt is another linebacker who could be a potential fit, though he would be more of a developmental project. He showed flashes of promise in limited action with the New York Jets, but he's far from a proven starter. Then there's Isaiah Simmons, a player with elite athleticism, but who has struggled to find consistency at the NFL level. If the Raiders were willing to take a chance on Ellis as a project player, perhaps they could do the same with Simmons, hoping that with the right coaching, he could develop into a key contributor. Regardless of whether the Raiders pursue a trade for Ellis or look elsewhere in free agency, one thing is clear. The team cannot afford to ignore the linebacker position. As it stands, this group is dangerously thin. Landon Roberts is a solid veteran. Presence, but he needs a coverage linebacker next to him. And right now, the Raiders don't have an obvious solution. Amari Burney has potential, but he's primarily known as a downhill run stopper rather than a coverage specialist. Amari Gaynor is another intriguing name, as his skill set is somewhat similar to Ellis's. He has good range and the ability to cover, but he's still unproven at the NFL level. One thing working in Gaynor's favor is his work ethic. Reports suggest that he has been closely shadowing star defensive end Max Crosby during the offseason, trying to learn from one of the hardest working players in the league. If he can continue to develop and improve his understanding of the game, he could emerge as a viable replacement for Ellis. Meanwhile, Burney, despite his athleticism, still has significant issues in coverage, which makes it difficult to rely on him as a full-time starter. Another name to keep an eye on is rookie linebacker Tommy Eichenberg. While he doesn't have the same level of athleticism as Burney or Gaynor, he brings a high football IQ and strong instincts to the table. If the Raiders are looking for someone who can step into a leadership role on defense and take charge, Eichenberg might be their best bet. He was known in college as a highly coachable player, and that's exactly the kind of mentality the Raiders need right now. The team loved Ellis because he showed steady improvement and responded well to coaching, and Eichenberg could offer a similar trajectory. The bottom line is that the Raiders must take action. Losing out on Ellis is a setback, but it doesn't have to be a disaster. There are still opportunities to improve the linebacker group, whether through a trade-free agency or internal development. The team has to be proactive, though, because as of right now, this might be one of the weakest linebacker rooms in the entire NFL. The Patriots had until 4:00 p.m. Eastern Time to match the offer for Ellis, and they got it done with hours to spare. Now the Raiders have to regroup and figure out their next move. Will they attempt to trade for Ellis? Will they sign a free agent like E.J. Speed or Kazir White? Or will they gamble on their young players and hope that someone steps up? Whatever. The answer is one thing is certain: they cannot afford to stand still. This defense needs help at linebacker, and if they don't address it soon, it could be a major issue heading into the season. With Christian Ellis officially staying in New England, the Las Vegas Raiders are left with a crucial decision to make. The team had high hopes for Ellis, believing he could be the perfect complement to Landon Roberts in the linebacker unit. Now they must evaluate whether to pursue other options aggressively or trust the current roster to step up. This situation highlights a recurring issue for the Raiders: a lack of depth at key positions, particularly on defense. If they don't act soon, they risk entering the season with one of the weakest linebacker groups in the NFL. One of the biggest concerns is the overall lack of experience among the Raiders linebackers. Landon Roberts is the only proven veteran in the group, and while he is a solid run defender, he needs a coverage specialist next to him. The Raiders originally targeted Ellis because they believed he could develop into that player. Now they are left with a collection of unproven names, including Amari Burney, Amari Gaynor, and rookie Tommy Eichenberg. While each of these players has a side, none of them have established themselves as reliable starters in the NFL. The front office could still explore the trade market for a linebacker, though finding a deal that makes sense is easier said than done. If they truly valued Ellis enough to make an offer in the first place, they might consider reaching out to New England to see if a trade is possible. However, convincing the Patriots to part ways with Ellis would likely require a draft pick or another asset in return. The Raiders have to ask themselves whether it's worth giving up capital for a player who, while promising, is still somewhat unproven at the NFL level. If a trade is off the table, free agency remains an option, but the available talent pool is shrinking fast. The best remaining linebacker on the market is E.J. Speed, a player who has steadily improved over the last few seasons. Speed is known for his physicality and ability to read plays, and he can provide immediate help to the Raiders' defense. However, his price tag may be an issue. Reports suggest that Speed could command anywhere from $8 to $10 million per year, which is significantly higher than what the Raiders were prepared to pay Ellis. If they weren't willing to go higher for Ellis, would they be willing to pay that kind of money for Speed? Another potential option is Kazir White, a veteran linebacker who has shown strong coverage skills and solid tackling ability. White had a standout season with the Arizona Cardinals last year, recording 137 tackles and proving he can be a consistent presence in the middle of a defense. His experience and skill set make him one of the best available options, but like Speed, he won't come cheap. If the Raiders want a more affordable option, they could take a chance on Chaz Surratt. While not as proven as Speed or White, Surratt showed flashes of potential last season with the Jets. He would be a developmental project, much like Ellis was. Expected to be, but given the current state of the linebacker room, he could still be a valuable addition. Another name to consider is Isaiah Simmons, a former first-round pick who has yet to find his footing in the NFL. Simmons possesses elite athleticism, but his inconsistency has prevented him from becoming a reliable starter. If the Raiders believe in his potential, they could bring him in on a short-term deal and try to maximize his talents. If no trades or free agent signings occur, the pressure will be on the current players to elevate their games. Amari Gaynor is one of the most intriguing names to watch. His skill set closely resembles that of Ellis, and he has the ability to cover ground quickly. What makes Gaynor particularly interesting is his commitment to improving. Reports suggest that he has spent significant time this offseason working alongside Max Crosby, one of the hardest working players in the league. If he can absorb even a fraction of Crosby's mentality and work ethic, he could make a real impact on the Raiders' defense. Amari Burney is another player who will have an opportunity to prove himself. However, his skill set leans more toward being a run-stopping linebacker rather than a coverage specialist. That's where the concern lies. If Burney is paired with Roberts, the Raiders could struggle in pass coverage, which is an area they desperately need to improve. Burney has shown flashes of potential, but his biggest weakness is his ability to cover tight ends and running backs in open space. If the coaching staff believes he can develop in that area, they may give him a bigger role. But as of now, there are serious questions about whether he can handle those responsibilities. Tommy Eichenberg could also emerge as a key contributor. While he lacks elite athleticism, he is an intelligent player who processes the game well. His ability to diagnose plays quickly could make him a valuable asset, especially in a defense that needs strong decision makers. The Raiders loved Ellis because of his steady improvement and coachability, and Eichenberg has similar traits. If given the right opportunities, he could grow into a starting caliber linebacker. The challenge for the Raiders is that they don't have time to wait and see if these young players will develop into reliable starters. The season is fast approaching, and unless they make a move soon, they could find themselves in serious trouble at the linebacker position. The lack of depth is alarming, and while there's always the draft as a potential solution, relying on a rookie to step in and immediately solve the team's problems is a risky approach. The Raiders have some financial flexibility with around $50 million in cap space, but they need to be strategic about how they use it. If they're unwilling to spend big on a free agent linebacker, they may choose to invest in other areas of the roster instead. The front office has made it clear that they have a long-term vision for this team, and they are being careful with their spending. That approach is understandable, but at some point they need to address immediate needs. Losing Ellis to the Patriots was a frustrating setback, but it's not the end of the world. The Raiders still have options. They just need to act quickly. Whether it's making a trade, signing a free agent, or trusting the players already on the roster, they need to solidify their linebacker group before the season starts. If they don't, they could find themselves struggling defensively, and that's not a position they can afford to be in. Only time will tell what decision the Raiders make, but one thing is certain: they can't afford to sit back and do nothing. The linebacker position remains a glaring weakness, and unless they find a way to fix it, it could become a major liability in the upcoming season. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Imagine the unthinkable. Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs' golden quarterback, leading the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, you read that correctly. With rumors swirling and sources hinting at unprecedented moves, the Raiders may be setting their sights on the legendary quarterback in a bid to elevate their franchise to new heights. This bold pursuit has sent shockwaves through the NFL, as one of the most dynamic and celebrated players in history could soon don the silver and black Mahomes, who has already solidified his legacy with 6 consecutive AFC Championship appearances and multiple Super Bowl MVPs, remains a cornerstone of the Chiefs dynasty. However, with the Raiders eager to claim their own piece of football glory, the idea of poaching Mahomes from the Chiefs' grasp has become a tantalizing prospect. The move would not only shake up the AFC West, but would undoubtedly send ripples throughout the entire NFL, transforming the Raiders into an instant Super Bowl contender as Mahomes continues to rewrite the record books. The possibility of him leaving the Chiefs seems increasingly plausible. With a massive contract extension already secured, many have speculated that a potential trade could be on the horizon, providing the Raiders with the opportunity to secure one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. If Las Vegas manages to pull off this historic acquisition, it would mark a new era for the Raiders, making them a force to be reckoned with for years to come. The question is no longer could it happen, but when? That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.